Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, reporting with a weekly garden tour here from Central North Carolina, Zone 7, where we've had a couple of light frosts and we have 22 degrees in the forecast for a few days from now. Now, I am standing in front of my favorite tree in my entire neighborhood, which I am proud to say is part of the garden here at the neighbor house that we're in the process of purchasing. And every fall I've admired this tree. I definitely think it's the best tree in our entire neighborhood. And it occurred to me today how lucky I am that I'm gonna ultimately be the one stewarding this beautiful giant. Of course, this is a taxodium, also known as the bald cypress. It's a native to the southeast United States, and it's a deciduous conifer, meaning it sets cones and it has needles, but each year those needles get this beautiful fall color and then drop to the ground, which is a great self-mulching tactic. Now, I've been plotting what I'm gonna do to this space once we do take ownership and I'm able to start building the gardens. And I've been dreaming of having a space for tiny bulbs, things like cyclamen and galanthus and crocus and all kinds of things that are active through the fall, winter, and early spring. And I think ultimately this tree is destined to have a beautiful tiny bulb collection growing underneath. But let's take a stroll around both properties so you can see where we're at here going into the middle of November, just before Thanksgiving. So another view of this glorious taxodium. I love these trees so much. This one has a significant lean, and that is due to Hurricane Matthew that hit in 2016. But I think the lean makes it even more charming. You can see I haven't done anything to the outside of this property yet. We don't technically own it yet. We have been very busy on the inside, and I'll post an update from there later on this week. Now, looking over to our property border, my plan is to basically from those castor beans down, I'm going to remove all those shrubs. We're going to remove that shed, and we'll essentially have like a big driving path that will connect the two properties. I still want to leave the properties somewhat separate so that Airbnb guests will feel like they have their own space. And you can see the frost has nipped the sorghum, which I have been waiting to harvest for this week. I love using this in holiday displays, especially Thanksgiving. And I just think it's so cool. You see the different seed color from orange to black to brown. So I'll be harvesting these later today to start making some festive arrangements. Of course, Sophia needs to be a part of our tour. And check out this. So this is a daikon radish. Usually they're white. I really love this coloration and, you know, like this deep petiole color. I've been hoping this will flower. The deer have been coming through and eating. You see there, and you can see here the deer have eaten, but you can see a big difference between this sort of purple orientation or purple coloration and the traditional white. And see, these petioles are white all the way through, and the root is also white. Obviously that's past its prime for eating, but it's great for what it's doing in breaking up the soil. Now, I desperately need to get this bed cleaned up, and I will be doing it soon. But I'm just trying to sort of enjoy everything as it is. You can see the frost hasn't been super harsh because the castor beans look fine, but things like buckwheat, which are definitely cold sensitive, have been nipped. Not melted. That'll probably happen on Tuesday night. It's definitely a time of transition. I'm no longer feeling resistant to it. I'm actually really excited to have some quality time out in the garden, to be able to very thoroughly do the cool season transformation. The beds that I've already done look good. Unfortunately, the Ms. America that I put into this bed is just hasn't picked up. I was really hoping that it would, match that side and match around the pool. But, that's what happens sometimes when you have a plan. I desperately need to clean the pool. You can see how dry we've been as well by how low it is. We just haven't had any rain. There's no humidity. It evaporates really quickly. So today I need to spend some time cleaning this up with the vacuum, and then I can get the pump set back upright so that the fountain will run. Again, you can see the brugmansias just got nipped right at the top. But there's still flowers that will be opening. I'd say if 22 degrees really does hit, that'll knock this down. And traditionally, this brugmansia, which has been planted for a decade, this is Charles Grimaldi, it dies to the ground, and I just cut it back and I put, some leaves on top of it. And then it grows this much in a single season. And over here, you can see this is definitely a microclimate. I have ginger tucked under the bench for safekeeping, but the impatiens haven't been nipped back. And that's because this is a, warm little pocket. And people always ask about the floating flower arrangements, and with cooler weather, they last a lot longer. This is over a week old, and you see everything still looks, beautiful and colorful and fresh. So it's not a lot of maintenance if you do these floating flower arrangements through the cooler season. All right, so here's time for Seedling ID. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. First of all, that is chickweed. I don't want chickweed. I don't care that it's edible. I don't want it. This is poppy. And the main way you can see that is from this sort of scalloped true leaves there. So again, poppies here, here, here. This is cilantro. You can tell it's cilantro just by smelling it. It's very distinct. Okay, then we have larkspur right here. That is larkspur. This is also larkspur. Larkspur. Bachelor button. Now, this is a weed. This is a lamium. I don't want that. Obviously, all the grassy, that is all barley. But overall, this is going to be really pretty. That's a lot of flower seeds germinating very well. Very pleased to see it. More seed ID. This is the red Russian kale that I direct seeded into that pot. And over here we have a big pot of barley. I love how the barley looks just germinated. It's so organized. All of those seedlings are lettuce. Of course, this is what the red Russian kale looks like as it grows out. This was planted several months ago. And over here, very similar things happening. We've got that mixed lettuce in this pot, barley here, and this is precisely why I say don't waste your time, covering the barley, because as it germinates, it will sort of puff up anything that was covering the seed. And then in here, much more slowly, but I am seeing lettuce seeds starting to germinate. So overall, I think this will be great. You can see the bottle wall that Aiden did this week, just kind of as a backing to this huge fig hedge, which now I can really see that I have ripe figs and I need to come through and harvest these and eat them. I've never had good fruit set on this. This is the most I've ever had, and I am not going to let these go to waste. The fall foliage is really great. This is a happy accident. This is some self-sown sassafras adjacent to the powder blue blueberries. I love how their colors echo. And really, that blueberry hedge is just so beautiful when it gets this coloration. Can you believe there are still raspberries? They are so good. I can't believe how big this plant has gotten. I've always been afraid of putting these in the ground because of their ability to spread. And I'm not sure that I will have the courage to plant it in the ground, even next door with more property. I think they may be best contained in containers. I still have a lot to plant in the greenhouse. And my dream of having broccoli for Thanksgiving does not seem like it's going to come true. I don't see any heads forming yet. That's okay. We'll have it eventually. I tried my best. I can't believe there's still a zucchini growing. It's not really setting much fruit. I'm just intrigued by the fact that it's still alive. I've never had a zucchini in November, let alone like the middle to end of November. And you can see like these borders where there's a lot of tree cover haven't gotten nipped at all. So like the sweet potato vine looks fine over here. The kohlrabies are coming along. This is of course what I'm looking for. Just get a little bit bigger than that. I love kohlrabi. I was also hoping to have this for Thanksgiving. I'm gonna go down to see my parents, and it was my dad's dad that was a kohlrabi aficionado, and I was hoping to include some of this in memory of him. And those carrot blooms just won't stop. They're so beautiful. I do love that pink hue that they get from the cooler temperatures. And of course you can see the onion front here growing great. More broccoli, delicious arugula. I will be bringing arugula for Thanksgiving. And these are a little past their prime, but again, they'll probably turn to mush with 22 degrees, and then I'll be able to trim this back and get some fall things planted in this border. It's definitely time to yank the Seminole pumpkin out of the tree cover here. You can see the Edgeworthia. It doesn't get great fall color, but that droop isn't that it's dry, it's just that it's soon going to be dropping its foliage. But you can see all those flower buds that will be so beautiful in the middle of winter. Of course, roses seem to really like this time of year. I've got 2 different roses in full bloom right here in this bed. I say this a lot, I'm not really a rose person. I appreciate roses a lot, and I really appreciate all the breeding that's being done for making disease-resistant roses. But fundamentally, like, I don't like thorny plants, and like, look at these thorns, they're crazy. I just am clumsy, and I trip and fall, and like, my biggest fear is like poking my eye out with a thorn. This is why I don't have any agaves in this garden. I just don't always pay attention to what I'm doing when I'm working in the garden. I don't want to hurt myself. There again is this Puerto Rican evergreen okra, the one plant. Look at how big it is. Look at that chunk. Now I of course harvested all the seed pods and I have them inside drying. I'm absolutely obsessed with that plant. And finally, this camellia is starting to bloom, and I need to get some frontage plants put in to help prevent the deer browse, because deer love eating camellias, as they are. This is October Magic Bride. It's a really pretty formal double white, cute little bloom that is from the Southern Living Plant Collection. My good friend Bobby Green bred this plant, and I love seeing these couple of late blooms off of this echinacea pretty parasols. That is hands down my favorite echinacea, new echinacea variety. And look at the new blooms coming out. You know, I like to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. My workspace, I think, fits into the ugly category right now. The sweet potatoes, the Treasure Island sweet potatoes arch has definitely taken a hit from the cold, and I am ready to get this deassembled and cleaned up for the season. And I'm really happy to see some persimmons. They still don't quite feel like they're ready to be eaten, but I could probably harvest them and they'll continue to ripen indoors. But there's quite a few fruit tucked in and around. This is a weeping hybrid persimmon. And I will just direct seed sweet peas on this arbor so that I'll have something climbing that will flower, you know, next spring. And it won't cover, the sweet peas won't cover this arch to the same degree as these summer vines, but it's still a great use of the arch. And the south border hasn't really been nipped at all. This Kufia just gets better and better, my goodness. And these pots are still looking good here with summer stuff. I've still got cream sausage tomatoes growing there, and this Tibashina is nice. I'm really excited to show you the wall. This is the barley that Aiden and I planted 2 weeks ago, and you can see that it has all germinated. At this stage, it's so organized looking. I mean, oh my gosh, it's like an obsessive compulsive dream come true. I absolutely love how the grains look when they first germinate. And of course the planters for the cool season look wonderful, and barley is planted on both sides of the wall. You can see light is going to play a role, and I suspect this side will grow a little faster than adjacent where, you know, the light is cut off. But that's just kind of something, a fun observation to make. And again, I think this is going to be so gorgeous, especially in the spring when the barley is tall and it starts to flower. Across the front here, these containers are looking good. It's been very dry, and I'm watering these probably every other day, just with the hose. And really great thing here, the Itea. This is one from First Editions plants. And, you know, I just think that fall color is amazing. And then mixed in with the Evercolor Carex. This is just my favorite spot in the yard right now, for sure. And look behind it. There is Snowy Belle strawberry from Bushel and Berry producing strawberries. I mean, this is just the most incredible plant. This is, to me, everything right here that I'm showing you, these are all new genetics, including that rose. That is the Four Bourbons rose. These are all plants, you know, with thoughtful plant breeding. And it shows. They are just extraordinary specimens. I have another Itea also from First Editions right here. And look at that fall color. Isn't that so incredible? And then look at the Lindera behind it. It's absolutely glowing. These two together, oh, it's almost like I did this on purpose. More Seed ID. This is all lettuce that I am growing, you know, basically along the edge through here. And I'm pleased to say that the poppies are germinating. So you see, the poppies are germinating where there's mulch. They're germinating where there's open space. And that is really the important thing to note. But these are poppies. That is what they look like in their infant stage. This is all cotyledon foliage that you're seeing here. And I think it'll be really cool across this border to have poppies. Now I cannot believe how the senna has not been nipped by frost at all. It looks great. Love these flowers. Oh my gosh. you know, I waited all summer for them, so I'm really enjoying them now. This week, I'm hoping, actually tomorrow, that I will take on this bed and get it cleaned up. I'm gonna dig the dahlias out and store those. I'm gonna dig out the big colocasias and dig out that banana and then get it replanted. And I don't totally know exactly what my plan is for it. So that'll be an interesting video to see what it turns out to be. But the time has come. The tropical border has done its job, and now it's time to be reinvented. Of course, the wave, it's also its time. Basically, I'm just gonna come through with a push mower, mow all this biomass back down, and get it prepped for direct seeding on Black Friday, which is just a few days away. And that's always the trigger date for me, really, to get busy getting these fall sown, spring blooming plants in the ground. Again, just to showcase this Lindera, which actually holds its foliage all winter. It'll just turn tan. And then behind that is just a seedling Japanese maple that gets a really nice red coloration. Now I'll be coming through with the push mower, mowing back all of this native Phlox paniculata. And behind that is a great osmanthus. This is a hybrid osmanthus called Jim Porter. And these blooms just smell so terrific. I really love osmanthus. I have quite a few. Here's another hybrid that isn't blooming yet, but you can see the flower buds are about to open. And I have the cutest little dwarf one, whose name I don't remember. I'm sure there's a label. And this one's also just getting ready to start blooming. You can see the flower buds there. But you know, if you don't have a lot of room, but you like osmanthus, there are some wonderful, really tiny varieties like this one. This has been in the ground probably at least 5 years. And it doesn't grow very fast, and you know, everything on it is small. The leaves, the stature, the growth habit. We're in the final days of fall interest for this Acer japonicum, aconitifolium. And you can see I'm kind of anxiously awaiting for the Chimonanthus praecox to start blooming. Generally, it starts flowering before I smell it before I see it. I do see flower buds starting to swell. You can kind of see up in there, those little nodules are the flower buds. So soon, this is also known as winter sweet. It gets a great, you know, butter yellow fall color, and it's a big plant. So put it somewhere where you can just let it grow out to its full size without pruning it. You can see it's easily 15 to 20 foot tall and 15 foot wide. When it blooms, it just fills the air with the most incredible fragrance. And the mums just continue to be the most charming thing ever. Ooh, you can see how dry we are. Look at that poor Ajuga. I haven't run the sprinkler at all. I probably need to. It is very dry. We do need to go around with a lawnmower. Again, final hours of the Sengokaku coral bark maple that always has such nice fall color. Overall, the garden, it still hasn't really been universally nipped. It's just little areas of open exposure that have been, you know, hit by frost a little bit more than other spaces. Believe it or not, like the tomatoes over here still look great. Look at that foliage. They're producing fruit. So I haven't dismantled the tomato walk at all because there's actually still a lot of tomatoes that I'll be able to harvest, both green and ripe. So I'm gonna try and do that like today and tomorrow because, if the forecast is right, 22 degrees is absolutely going to nip it back. Now, I have long been neglecting to showcase the sequoia, the giant sequoia that I propagated like 12 years ago. It's been planted in the ground for 10 years here. So I'm taking this opportunity because all this time it's been right here adjacent to the tomato walk or the tomato trail. And it's finally, you know, developed its own leader. So traditionally when you asexually propagate these, like from cuttings, you're getting a piece of side branch. And so it takes actually quite a long time for the chemistry of the rooted cutting to finally orient itself upright. And so for several years, this grew very awkwardly. It was growing like 6 foot straight out, like a ground cover. But a few years ago, it developed a leader, and it's really growing great now. I mean, you can see it's much taller than me. And, you know, the trunk is definitely starting to get some good size. It's not necessarily planted in the perfect spot because it's really close to a walkway. So I'm having to do some pruning on it. But, you know, long term, this will be the tallest plant in the entire yard. And it won't matter. I can limb those branches up. It'll have plenty of high branches to be able to photosynthesize off of. So yeah, there is my giant sequoia that was rooted from the tree that is in the Coker Arboretum in downtown Chapel Hill, right in the heart of UNC's campus. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's garden tour. I'm actually headed to Chapel Hill right now. I am going to be visiting the North Carolina Botanical Garden, where I will do another garden tour video from, and I will get that posted tomorrow. And I look forward to sharing more updates from my home foodscape next week following the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm wishing you and all of your family and friends the very best this Thanksgiving. Be safe, be present, and enjoy the moment. Thanks, everybody.